Back to our top story, investigations are underway into the deaths of 7 men whose bodies were found next to Putfontein Road in Daveyton on Gauteng's East Rand. Emergency services personnel say one of the deceased was burnt beyond recognition, while the other 6 were partially burned with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the upper body. The motive for the killings is not yet known, and for an update we cross live to SABC News reporter Chriselda Lewis. A very good morning to you, Chriselda. Thank you so much for joining us. What's the situation there? Can we safely confirm that if the bodies of those men are indeed illegal miners?
Well, good morning to you, Simpiwe. We can't confirm that at this stage as investigations by the authorities continue, but we are live from the scene now on the on-ramp here at Putfontein in Ekurhuleni. And the visuals that you're seeing on your screen at the moment give a clear indication of some of the bodies that were lying here that were retrieved by the police here. You would see some of the shoes of the deceased still remain here at the scene. And as you correctly pointed out in your intro, you did say that one of the bodies was burnt beyond recognition. We don't want to show you too close, but you can see here on the scene some of the charred remains of what were the bodies that were lying here. We are not going to bring you too close to that, and also some of the blood that remains here on the scene. We can't show you that as well as Simpiwe, but from what we're seeing here live at this particular scene, there seems to have been what looks to have been a struggle that might have taken place. And towards my right hand side, you do see what would be those headlights that are often used by illegal miners. Those are some of the shots that we were able to get here on the scene as well, which might give an indication that those who were killed here are illegal miners. But we'll speak to the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Services Department very shortly about perhaps what their investigations are entailing at this point. I must just give you an indication that the place where I'm standing at the moment, Simpiwe, is very prone to illegal mining. In fact, over the past couple of years, I've been here several times to come and cover the story of illegal miners who continue to operate in this area. And in fact, just a few moments ago, I managed to speak to some of the illegal miners who are continuing to go underground despite what has happened. You'll get that full story in a much later bulletin. But in speaking to them, they're saying they are afraid, given the circumstances here, but they're saying it's not the first time that this has happened. And we know that the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Services, as well as the South African Police Services, have had their hands full in trying to deal with the issue of illegal mining here on Gauteng's East Rand. We've covered the story several times. And look, a speculation at this point, one cannot really say whether this was related to some kind of turf war that has been ongoing on the issue relating to illegal mining. It's a story that I've covered several times. And here, the bodies were dumped just here behind me. Some gunshot wounds were seen on parts of the body, on the head, and parts of the chest as well, on some of those who were deceased. The bodies have been removed from the scene at this moment, but investigations continue. And I think in just about a moment's time, I will head to one of the informal settlements, which is just about a stone throw away from where I'm standing at the moment, where we're speculating at this stage. This is where those what I believe to be illegal miners were coming from, because when we spoke to some of those who have just come out from the informal settlement here towards my right, they said they heard about the incident, but they don't know the identities of those who died here. Let me bring in William and Tladi. Let's get the latest now to find out if there's any more details pertaining to the investigations. William and Tladi, the Ekurhuleni Emergency Services, thank you very much for your time, sir. What do we know at this stage? What time were the bodies recovered? Do we know if these are indeed illegal miners?
Thank you so much. Yes, we can confirm that yesterday, around about 8:10, we received a call of bodies that were lying here at this point, and we responded positively so to come here, and we found definitely 7 bodies of males, and we paramedics checked on them, and unfortunately none of them was alive, and they were declared deceased, and one of them out of the 7 actually was burnt beyond recognition. So we identified that now they suffered upper body trauma, of which is the chest and the head, and we worked together with South African police officials, forensic investigators, together with forensic pathologists, to make sure that now we manage the scene. Hence, the bodies, after the investigations were conducted here, were removed from the scene to a forensic pathologist in Springs.
Can we confirm at this stage whether these were illegal miners? Upon our little investigation here, we did see some of those lights that are often used by illegal miners here. Is there any confirmation of that at this stage?
Unfortunately, there's no confirmation, if I can say that. However, we know that now the history around this area is infested illegal mining activities that are taking place. And in the past years, we had some challenges in terms of illegal mining. And this type of an incident, I think some couple of years ago as well, just almost about 500 towards a kilometer away from here, we found the similar incident whereby we had to attend it as well, with the type of injuries from those whom we found there, whereby by then when we responded out, they reported 6 of them, but when we came on scene and we found out now there were about 14 of them. So similar type, and even if today you can check that now there are still some sort of activities.
Sorry, one second, Mr. Ntali. I'm going to ask our video journalist, Masele, just to point towards that direction there. You can see quite clearly the gentleman who is walking there, by all indications, is headed towards that direction where there is some illegal mining taking place. Let's try this direction as well. Well, not too far from where I am now, you'll see towards the mining area there, many others walking towards that direction. I'm not sure. Apologies, we have this vehicle, the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department vehicle in our way at this point, but you will see towards that area, there are many areas that are opened there where these illegal miners enter and stay for days upon end. In fact, those illegal miners that I spoke to just a few moments ago, Simpiwe, you'll get that story in a later bulletin, they indicated, well, while this may be tragic, it's not the first time that it has happened. There are turf wars that are taking place in this particular area. Let's try and have a look once again right there. I think our video journalist, Masela, will have a better shot from this direction. Unfazed by what has happened over the past couple of moments, continuing with business as usual. And that has certainly been the case. We heard there William Ntladi from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department saying that, I mean, previously they found a number of over 10 bodies here, but the illegal mining continues. Somehow authorities are not able to effectively deal with the issue of illegal mining here. Let me bring in William Ntladi once again and just continue this conversation with him. Mr. Ntladi, thanks again for staying with us. Apologies for that. Is this at all linked to perhaps the ongoing turf wars that take place here? Is that forming part of your investigation?
From our side, Chriselda, as emergency services, one cannot confirm that. However, since this is sort of a crime scene, and we have handed it over basically to the law enforcement unit, that does the South African Police Services, who are handling the issue of investigations. And yes, but we can confirm that this is a regular thing from emergency point of view, that now we come here several times almost to come and identify the body and declare them, and and remove them as well from the scene, and all of them with the type of similar injuries. So head injuries, gunshots, and chest injuries, gunshots, and those are things that are happening very often around this area.
Have you been able to identify any of the loved ones of the deceased? I know that there's an informal settlement just a few blocks from here. Is there any indication if they come from that informal settlement?
For this one of yesterday, we actually operated here almost throughout the night, but unfortunately there wasn't anybody from around the area, the informal settlement, who came maybe looking for their loved ones. Then and one can say to the public to say these were all male patients, middle-aged male patients who were basically declared dead, and so far we cannot confirm that now their loved ones have reported the case. But we believe that now SAPS around Daveyton and even Benoni will be able to facilitate and fast track should there be any other people who are coming here to come and claim the lost ones that went missing.
All right, thank you very much indeed for your time, William Ntladi, who is with the Ekurhuleni Emergency Services. In fact, I'm going to ask our video journalist once again, Mpho Masela, to please turn towards this direction. More police have arrived here at the scene. I see the K9 Search and Rescue Unit as well. Perhaps they're also here to comb the scene at this stage. The police have been operating here for quite some time now, since yesterday, and I think they're going to deploy their personnel. They're actually heading towards that direction now, where you see a lot of that illegal mining taking place towards there. Simply, we would love to go into that particular area. In fact, from where I'm standing on a little heap of ground there, you can see that some of the illegal miners are hiding there, and with such a presence of the Metro Police Service here in Ekurhuleni, as well as the South African Police Service, they're not going to come out from under there at this stage. Here you have it, members of the K9 unit have come to comb the scene here, with whom I presume at this stage might be an investigator into this particular matter. Our colleague there from our radio division, Titaba, also on scene at this point, and we'll certainly bring you the latest from here. Just have a look towards this direction once again. The K9 unit here, I would presume that, of course, this is the dog that has been brought in to come and, of course, comb the scene for any clues at this stage. I'm not going to go too close to that cage there, but of course we're expecting in the next few moments this dog from the K9 unit will be brought in to comb the scene at this stage. I'll also bring you a bit more towards this direction, give you a sense of what else it is that we're finding here at this particular location. Apologies there, we're moving around quite a lot, but towards this direction here, let me bring you in here. You can see what remains of some of the clothing of the deceased here, some sticks which are often used to maneuver this particular area by the illegal miners. So the scene itself, particular areas, Simpiwe, that are quite grim, that we cannot show you at this stage. We do apologize to some of our sensitive viewers who might see some footage that they might not like here, but it really paints a picture of what really takes place in areas such as this, where illegal mining takes place. We cannot confirm whether this was at all related to some of the ongoing turf wars that we have covered, where you have quite a number of illegal miners that would spend days, and in particular, simply during this time of the year, where, of course, everyone needs to put something on the table. We're obviously not justifying the illegality of what is taking place here, but there seems to be that last-minute push to ensure that during the festive season, the illegal miners would go and spend a month in advance down underground and try to come up with something from underground and put something on their tables. That's the explanation we've often heard from them when we've covered the story quite extensively over the past couple of years. So these investigators will wait just a moment. I see members of the K9 unit putting on some of those gloves of theirs. We're expecting in the next few moments that they will then release the dog, who will then come and do this comb the scene right here. Let's turn towards that direction. SABC video journalist Mpho Masela. And yes, it seems indeed that what they are doing is readying at this stage to ensure that the dog will be released from there, and then will then be brought to this the crime scene itself, where they will comb this area for any clues at this stage. The Ekurhuleni Metro Police Service, the canine dog being released there. They will obviously put a leash on him as usual, and the hope, of course, is that once the dog is released from the scene, or that cage in particular, they'll be able to find some clues to perhaps some of the evidence that might remain here on the scene. The dog moving towards that direction. We'll try to get as close as we can, but all indications at this stage. Apologies there, Simpiwe. We will try to move from where we are and bring you live coverage of these visuals. I'll move together with our camera person, Paul Marcela, just if you're able to just bear with us. And we won't go too close to try and impede the work that is being done by the investigators here on the scene. So they're moving a bit further away from where the actual crime scene is, and clearly the indications are that as they move towards that direction, they will try to comb the scene for perhaps whether there is any evidence that will move towards, or they'll find any evidence towards that direction there. And I can surely tell you, when the situation is like this, you would get illegal miners who are operating in this area. You would not be able to see them hidden in holes that are you absolutely cannot see with the naked eye from where you are, because those holes are so secluded and just well hidden that the illegal miners themselves, you would not be able to catch a glimpse of them unless you really dig deep. It's not a very safe area to operate in, Simpiwe. So we're also trying to stay quite far, because every time you try to speak to the illegal miners, they perhaps think that we are working in conjunction with the police or authorities, and are quite skeptical in speaking to us. We were quite lucky a bit earlier on when we spoke to some of the illegal miners who are continuing their business at this stage. Even those that we managed to get a glimpse of just a few moments ago from this particular area have now gone underground, or they're hiding behind some of the rubble that you will see here. But you're not going to have any luck at this point trying to get them to speak to you as the members of the K9 unit continue to comb the scene. As you can see, these are live pictures from the on-ramp here at Putfontein in Ekurhuleni, where the bodies of 7 men have been discovered. This was yesterday. So crime scene investigators are on the scene at the moment to try and find clues. The speculation at this stage is that these were illegal miners. Their bodies had been dumped here on the side of the road, sustaining injuries to the chest as well as to the head. Those are gunshot wounds, and one of the 7 bodies was burnt beyond recognition. That's been confirmed by authorities at this stage. So in this particular area, you'll find quite a lot. Part to where that dog is headed towards now, you would find that perhaps they're trying to comb the scene to find anything, whether it is weapons. You would generally find some shovels, some buckets, and some equipment that is used in the process of illegal mining. But I think these officers, these crime scene investigators, are combing for much more than that at this stage, in trying to piece together the clues of perhaps what might have happened. Because also quite crucial, Simpiwe, is that the bodies themselves had been dumped here on the side of the road. So what they would need then to also establish is whether the men were killed elsewhere and their bodies just dumped here on the side of the road. So they would need to try and find the actual scene, and that would necessarily be through perhaps the traces of blood, which we've also seen here on the side of the road in Putfontein, on this Putfontein off-ramp. So combing the scene for any clues at this stage about what happened to the 7 men whose bodies were found here on the Putfontein off-ramp here in Ekurhuleni, as those crime scene investigators continue. Whether the dog itself, the canine dog, will find anything, will have to remain here on scene to try and see if they will figure something out. They seem to be spending a bit of a moment on that particular place. We'll just wait a little bit to see if they've found anything. I'd love to go a bit closer, Simpiwe, but unfortunately I cannot. We really don't want to impede or hamper on the work that the police are doing at this stage. We give them space to do their work, but very prone in this area. I'll bring in, let me try and bring in William and Tladi as our visuals continue to stay on the K9 dog there that continues to sniff for some of the clues here. I'll speak to William and Tladi in just a moment. He's speaking to some of our colleagues at this stage from SABC Radio on the latest developments here. I'll bring him in very shortly to this broadcast as you see those crime scene investigators, the K9 dog, heading much deeper into this particular area to try and find clues to what possibly could have happened. But as you walk towards that area, you will see quite a lot of these holes. And the challenge that the authorities have had is that every time they close some of these holes, which the illegal miners use to go underground, they're reopened every single time. So I think there's a great challenge at this point about trying to deal with the issue of illegal mining, because as they continue to do their work, you have holes that continue to be opened in different areas. So the work continues for these illegal miners. And despite the fact that you have these turf wars and the challenges that they experience, they say that they will be able to, they just want to put food on their tables. That is their concern at this stage. I'm going to try and bring in William and Tladi in just a few moments. Let me bring in William and Tladi just for a few moments. And Tladi, if you could just explain to us, there we have the members of the K9 unit heading towards that area. You've moved away quite extensively from the crime scene. What could they possibly be looking for there?
Thank you so much. Behind this rubble, one can look at it. There's a mine dump. There is a shaft, which is there. It's an operational shaft. It was closed on several occasions. In the past, we also had some incidents of illegal minings that took place and resulting with fatalities, exchange of gunshots, and many people have lost their lives there. But now it seems that now they will be going there just to check. The reason is that now, after these 7 bodies that were identified yesterday, we don't know how many others they were still going to bring this side, because on the scene where the 7 bodies were found, one could identify the makeshift stretchers that were used to carry the bodies from where the actual incident of shooting took place up until to this point. So there's those K9 units, officials or officers, they are doing a scene survey to check if ever there are no other unidentified or the bodies that are lying across this open field.
All right, that certainly gives an indication that perhaps you can see there as the dog. Yes, the dog itself is trying to move to try and establish where perhaps the actual murder scene may have taken place. You speak about a stretcher, Ms. Tladi. So all indications may be at this stage that the bodies were just dumped here, but were killed elsewhere, perhaps within that area that is being searched at the moment. Is that correct?
Definitely, we is an area of suspicion, if we can say that, where maybe the actual incident happened. But we're saying once that unit, with the K9 unit, is moving around, they always follow the dog, just to be able to identify, because they have been trained to identify the smell of the dead bodies. So then by following it wherever it goes, that will make the investigation far much easier. For those officers to be able to identify, even with the stains of blood that were actually dropped alongside the way prior the 7 bodies being left outside here where we are now.
All right, thank you very much indeed for your time, William and Tladi. who's with the Ekurhuleni Metro Police as well, emergency services. And I think we're going to leave it there, Simpiwe, because out of sight at this stage, the K9 unit who have moved deeper into this particular area, which is prone to illegal mining, as they continue to comb the scene for any evidence that may lead to perhaps some kind of clarity on what happened to the 7 men whose bodies were found here on the side of the road at the Putfontein on-ramp. And I think what is quite clear at this stage is that the bodies were just dumped here. So those crime scene investigators, together with the K9 unit dog, are basically trying to see or trying to comb the scene to find out exactly where the bodies themselves, where the actual crime itself had taken place, and whether there are any other bodies at this stage. That is certainly something that is also under investigation at this point. They cannot rule out the possibility that more bodies may be found in this particular area, because it's something that has happened time and time again when police and emergency services have often combed the scene here in an incident where there's been a crime or one of the illegal miners has been killed. If you continue to stretch your way, go towards that direction there, you would find that there are bodies. So they're not ruling out the possibility at the stage that more bodies may be found. I'll leave it there for now. Simpiwe will certainly bring you up to speed with the latest developments here. If anything is found by those crime scene investigators together with the K9 dog, we will certainly bring you an update of that as we allow them to do their work. But we're live here from the Putfontein off-ramp, where the bodies of 7 people have been identified.